to talk about the 5 things that you need to do each and every day in order to keep your anger in check and kind of notice like an upswing in your mood. So, if you're not familiar with my work, my name's Seryna Myers. I help recovering people pleasers get really honest about how they truly feel, but in particular about those like less than fun emotions like anger, resentment, guilt, and all that kind of stuff. So today I want to talk about these 5 things. I notice that the more that I do them, and sometimes I don't check all 5 off if I'm entirely honest, but the more that I do, the better my days get. So let's jump right in. So the first thing seems so completely obvious, but it's when you first wake up, literally check in with yourself. Ask your heart, ask your body, what do I need today? What do I need to feel good? What do I need to have a good day if you know you've got a really full day? What do I need to do to be able to keep my energy up? How do I honor myself? So, what do I need? That's the very, very, very first thing. The second thing that you ask is, what am I feeling today? And if it's something that's not in line with the things that you've got on your to do list, is there a way that you can make space for those feelings? Is there a way that you can leverage those feelings in the things that you've got to do? Now, this seems like a kind of a weird way to start your day, but this immediate check in basically tells yourself, hey, I give a shit about how I think and how I feel and what I need. It is a validation from the moment your eyes open in the world. It's a validation that you matter and that you matter to yourself. And particularly those of us who are harboring these old stories and these old hurts from our childhood or even from our adulthood, if we have any kind of programming inside that says you're not worth it, you're not valuable, your voice doesn't matter. When we start our day immediately just acknowledging ourselves and our needs and then doing our best to honor that throughout the day, it is a balm for the soul. It's really, really beautiful. And it's an easy thing that we can do. All of the 5 things I'm going to tell you are actually really quite easy. Okay, so that's step one. Step two, what you want to do is find a way throughout the day to move your body in a way that feels good. I am not the most athletic person. This is something that is kind of new to my practice, and everybody's going to have different degrees of what this means to them, either because of what they're physically able to do or even just how they define what feels good. For some people, the endorphins that come from going for a really great run, that's their jam. And for someone else, that's their complete worst nightmare. For me, I really enjoy the gentle stretch and the supportive feeling of restorative yoga. So it really doesn't matter who you are, what your body type is, or what you're physically able to do. There is some type of movement that is going to feel really good for you. And the more, sometimes it takes a little bit of like trial and error to find out what it is that works for you. But the more that you can do this and where you do it consistently, even if it's only for say 10 or 15 minutes, the more that you can honor this for yourself, the better your body is going to feel. And our body has such an important part in how we manage our emotions. And there's another thing I'm going to talk about in a moment that talks about moving of the energy, but this is definitely part of how we move our body as well. When we're holding on to hurt, drama, trauma, pain, anger, anything that is kind of less than cozy, all that stuff is living in our cells. And so when we find different ways to be able to move that vessel where we can get things going, where we can get that energy shifting, now that energy has somewhere to go. It's not just trapped up within us. And so moving your body in a way that feels good. And again, I want to like bold, underline, italic that because this is not about hurting yourself. It's not about shaming yourself into how you should do it. You get to define what feels good to you and do more of that. Okay, those are the first two. Number three ties in with that idea of helping the energy move, and that is to drink lots and lots and lots of water. I say this in my group programs. I say this in my one-on-one sessions. I'll say this even if I'm just doing a one-off reading and someone has had like big epiphanies that have shaken some things up for them when they've had this awareness. We are made of water. So being able to continue to bring water into our bodies to help the energy move, to be able to physically process it when we're urinating, all of that kind of stuff is really helpful when we are dealing with big emotions. I'm somebody who is a little bit socially awkward and socially anxious. And so even when I'm doing interviews, which I absolutely love to do, you'll probably notice I always have like a giant thing of water beside me, not because it's some kind of stalling technique where I want to be able to gather my thoughts, but because it is a way that I can move the anxiety within me. So this doesn't just work with your anger, it really works with everything, but we need to be Hydrated, we need to support our bodies in being able to move the big energies that come from uncomfortable emotions. Okay, this is probably going to be the trickiest one of everything that is on this 5 list. It's I would say that it is simple but not necessarily easy. And that is to honor your boundaries, and in particular, the little ones. Seems like a silly thing to say, but I notice that a lot of times when I actually get to the point of anger, it's because I've allowed little resentments to build up. And in the moment, it seems like a one off thing. It seems like not a big deal. And because I can do it, and it's often easier than saying no or having to like stand any kind of ground or be uncomfortable. If it's something I can do quickly, I will often, or I did often, it happens once in a while now, but I did often compromise what my own little rules of conduct were for myself, particularly in my business. There was a time where I was taking client messages by DM at 11 o'clock at night on Facebook. That was like totally like out of office hours, out of scope, tapping into my personal time, and it really didn't allow me to be able to turn my head off. So that was a really big one that I did. What are other things? I have I have someone in my life who I love very, very, very much. They live back east, so we have a 3 hour time difference. And while I love this person, they also have a drinking problem. And I know that when they call me, I add 3 hours to the clock, and then I can determine how likely drunk they are. And then it's a matter of, do I pick up this phone or not? And because of, managing many, many years with this individual, I know that if it's after like 7 o'clock my time, so 10 o'clock their time, the likelihood that we are going to have an argument in that conversation is very high. So I don't pick up the phone most of the time. And on the occasions that I do, and I literally did it yesterday, we end up in an argument. So these little boundaries that we set for a reason. And our boundaries are fierce declarations of self-love. They are ways that we are claiming what is okay and what isn't okay in terms of conduct with ourselves and how we show up in the world. And it's how we teach other people to treat us as well. And so when we compromise them, even the little ones, even when it seems like it's no big deal, they do add up. And when they do, they get a little bit explosive. So we really need to be mindful of that because we are responsible for upholding our boundaries. We can't expect other people to read our minds or to know what to expect or to know what's appropriate, especially if it's a newer boundary and we've kind of changed the rules a little bit. We need to retrain people of what is okay. So in the case of, let's say, the client from example 1, maybe it would be a message that says, yeah, I'll take a look at this tomorrow morning, just so you know my office hours are such and such to such and such. And just leave it like that. Or you could even ignore the message entirely until the next morning and then let them know that your office hours are such and such to such and such. You do not need to be on call all the time and always be available. Particularly if you're a business owner, it's really important to have those boundaries and to honor them for yourself if you don't want to burn out or get resentful, which will lead to burnout eventually anyway. And the last one, this is actually one of my favorite things to do, and it is such an easy, quick, gentle process, and it's how I fall asleep very often. And that is to do like a gratitude inventory when you're right about to go to bed. So when I go to sleep at night, the first thing I do is I close my eyes, I take some deep breaths, I call on my angels, I cut and clear the energies of the day, I seal up the energies so that I don't have any visitors and whatever, because I do have people who've crossed over who decide to come and pop in at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I set these kind of boundaries up, and then I just start saying thank you. Thank you for the various things that have happened throughout the day that made me feel really good. And if you've had a really shitty day, you can go back and like be grateful for other things entirely. But when we do this, we start the day on a high note, we end the day on a high note. And gratitude is such a beautiful vibration for our body. So for us to even drift off into sleep and to dream in that state is so beautiful. It's really nourishing. And more often than not, it's how I fall asleep. Like, I don't even get through my entire list. I end up just passing out in the process. For some people, they'll actually do like kind of a brain dump at the end of the day in their journal. They'll write on all their gratitude. Like, everyone's gratitude practice is a little bit different. But for me, I really love to do it laying in bed with my angels and just have it be this heart-centered practice that sends me off to sleep. Okay, 5 things. Super easy. So you're waking up, you're checking in, being like, what do I need? How do I feel? You're moving your body in ways that feels good. You're drinking tons of water so that energy's got somewhere to go. You're honoring your boundaries, even the little ones. And then you're ending your day with gratitude. It's kind of simple, isn't it? So I hope you found this helpful. Let me know in the comments if you did. I'll take care. See you again tomorrow.